In a world full of questions, few things unsettle us more than lives lost under baffling circumstances. These are not just accidents or crimes, they are puzzles wrapped in fear and silence. From sudden disappearances to strange scenes that defy logic, these mysterious deaths leave families without answers and investigators chasing shadows. Each case pulls us into a haunting web of doubt, speculation, and unanswered questions. Kadir Malik and Nazir Rahim Lewis were 19-year-old twin brothers from Lawrenceville, Georgia, known for their bond, shared interests, and quiet determination. They had planned a trip to Boston on March 8th, looking forward to a change of scenery and time with family. But what began as a routine journey ended in devastating confusion and heartbreak. Instead of boarding their scheduled morning flight, the two were spotted at a local gas station the night before, seemingly calm and composed. Hours later, both were found lifeless at the summit of Bell Mountain, a remote area nearly 2 hours from their home. Each had suffered a fatal gunshot wound. Their vehicle was nearby, but questions immediately arose. Their phones were missing, and their bags, packed for travel, were nowhere to be seen. Authorities initially concluded one had shot the other before turning the weapon on himself. That conclusion didn't sit right with loved ones. The idea that either would harm the other, let alone themselves, was dismissed by those who knew them best. Their family pointed to their deep connection, shared goals, and the absence of any prior distress. Adding to the mystery, Bell Mountain is not a typical stop for teens unfamiliar with the region. The area is gated after dark, which raised concerns about how and why they ended up there. Surveillance footage, time gaps, and inconsistencies in the official narrative deepened the unease. In late May, officials revised their initial judgment, but again, doubts lingered. A GoFundMe campaign was launched by the family to support an independent inquiry. They've called for transparency, accountability, and access to unredacted findings. Online communities and advocacy groups have echoed these concerns, amplifying the call for justice and clarity. What actually happened on that cold March morning remains unanswered. For many, it's not just about what was ruled on paper, but what feels incomplete in reality. Until more evidence is shared, like forensic details, toxicology, or firearm tracing, the true sequence of events will remain shrouded in uncertainty. Kadir and Nazir's lives were cut short in a way that no explanation has fully resolved. Behind every headline, there are families left with holes that official reports can't easily fill. Their case continues to raise questions, ones their loved ones won't stop asking. Tucked away within the vast expanse of Isle Royale National Park, Michigan, South Lake Desor is known for its quiet charm and isolation. On June 9, 2025, however, that seclusion became the backdrop of a deeply unsettling discovery. Two individuals, Bradley, 30, and John Baird, 60, were found lifeless at their campsite, transforming a place of retreat into one overshadowed by sorrow. Both men had set out on what many would consider a peaceful escape into nature. Experienced and well-equipped, they were no strangers to the outdoors. Their journey into the park wasn't unusual, nor did it raise any initial alarms. But when communication ceased for days, concern quickly mounted. A search effort led rangers to their location. What they found raised more questions than answers. The site itself appeared untouched. Tents stood in place, supplies were orderly, and there were no immediate signs of intrusion or danger. No signs of wildlife disruption, no footprints indicating a hurried escape. It was as if time had simply stopped. Authorities began their assessment with caution, considering a wide range of factors: natural causes, environmental exposure, or an unknown health emergency. The quiet surroundings that typically soothed the soul now held an eerie stillness. Those who knew the pair described them as thoughtful, prepared, and deeply respectful of nature. They had hiked similar trails in the past without incident. What unfolded this time remains unclear, and officials continue to investigate without haste, hoping to piece together the final hours leading to the tragedy. Family members, stunned by the news, have expressed their grief while also thanking those involved in the effort to locate the pair. There was no indication this trip would end in such a devastating way. For many who visit Isle Royale each year, the park remains a treasured destination. This incident, however, has cast a long shadow over a place typically associated with peace and renewal. While their lives came to an end far from city streets and noise, Bradley and John were not alone. They were surrounded by the quiet majesty of ancient trees, open sky, and the deep blue of Lake Superior nearby. Their passing has left behind questions, memories, and a silence that feels heavier than the forest itself. In the quiet wilderness of Zero Valley, tucked deep within Arunachal Pradesh's forested terrain, an unnerving discovery was made in early April 2024. Inside a modest hotel room, 3 individuals were found lifeless. The door was locked from the inside. No sounds had emerged for hours. When staff finally intervened, what they witnessed was unlike anything expected. The bodies of 2 women and a man lay in different parts of the room, one on the bed, one near the bathroom, and one on the floor. All bore self-inflicted injuries, mostly deep cuts on their wrists and forearms. No signs of outside intrusion, no chaos, no signs of struggle. Just silence and precision. They had checked in on March 28. For several days, nothing appeared out of place, but by April 2nd, the room remained closed, untouched, and quiet. Once entered, the scene inside immediately sparked questions, not just about how they died, but why. Scattered across the room were items not typically associated with travel. Smooth black stones, locks of cut hair, used razor blades, and a short, handwritten note bearing all 3 names. That note wasn't a cry for help. It was calm, almost resigned. Investigators described it as brief, reflective, and hauntingly composed. But it was the digital evidence that truly shifted the tone of the investigation. Their phones and laptops contained encrypted messages dating back over 2 years. Conversations laced with references to other dimensions, alien consciousness, spiritual escape, and the idea of leaving the human realm for something beyond. It was clear this event wasn't impulsive. It had been thought about, discussed, and possibly even planned. Forensic reports suggested each person inflicted their wounds in stages. Blood trail analysis indicated the act followed a pattern, deliberate and systematic. One may have gone first, the others following moments later. Some even speculated that one among them could have guided or convinced the others, though no conclusive evidence supports that theory. The presence of ritualistic items raised the possibility of occult influence. Authorities briefly explored this angle, especially given the layout of objects and symbolic undertones, but no concrete link to any known sect or group was found. Police officially registered the case as unnatural death, but the mystery only deepened. Who were they really? What belief pushed them this far? And how many more shared in their ideas without ever speaking of them? They didn't leave behind angry rants, accusations, or regrets. What they left was a puzzle, calmly constructed, eerily symmetrical. Among all the unsolved stories buried in remote corners of the world, this one now joins a darker archive, where reason blurs, intention twists, and death wears the mask of something greater than despair. In Zero Valley, 3 souls walked away from the known and vanished into the unknown, leaving behind questions that may never find answers.